All right, for our next speaker, as I told you all when we were just starting a few minutes ago, that prior to my work in the governor's office, I had the privilege of serving as a high school social studies teacher, coached football, track and field, and worked with the student council. As I was transitioning out of the classroom and applying for a spot on the then Doug Burgum for North Dakota campaign, I remember talking with the governor. We were going through the onboarding interview process. He was asking me some questions about what I thought about the state and some of the areas that I may like to work, and then asked me if I had any questions. I remember the first question I asked him is, where do you think the future of education in the state should go? Which for me was a really important question, contemplating leaving the classroom to join a political campaign. And a guy I've known for a long time and really respected, it was a question that I really wanted to hear an answer to. And I will never forget what came out of his mouth. He said, in times of transformational change, we need to empower those on the front lines to implement the changes necessary for those who require it. And that just spoke so powerfully to me as a teacher and as an educator and a deep believer in where innovation happens best. It's by those who are working in the trenches with students who are seeing the day-to-day realities that are faced every single day. So needless to say, after that, I was in, haven't looked back. And it is now it's really an honor to be able to introduce a gentleman that I just can't say enough about, both as my direct supervisor, a mentor, a friend, and the 33rd governor of the great state of North Dakota. Please join me in welcoming Governor Doug Burgum.
Come on, all of them. You don't have to stand in for me. We're applauding all the people that are still arriving. That's what we're cheering. People still pouring in. Thank you. Totally unnecessary. But good morning, and welcome to Jamestown. Thank you, Levi. Thank you, Rob, for the acknowledgments. It's great to be here with all of you. I want to get one piece of housekeeping cleared up. It's great that Rob welcomed all of you to Buffalo City, and we believe in local control, but I do want to clear up one thing right away. Buffaloes live in East and South Asia and Africa. Bison live on the Great Plains. In case any of your students want to become wildlife biologists, Jamestown can go with whatever they want to. As he said, First Lady's from here. But let's all be clear that a buffalo is a beardless animal that does not live in our continent. And the bison is a hip, very fast, got a little chin hair. What can you say about a bison? Sweet. And if the genus species of the one on your right, the bison, is a bison, because the bison is the genus in this species. So it's not just a bison, it's actually a bison, which is also important to know. And who looks happier there? You decide. So welcome to the Bison City. Okay. Gratitude. I want to start where Levi did, which is gratitude for all of you. Gratitude for Rob and his team opening up beautiful Jamestown High School. I want to thank all the sponsors that are here today at all levels, from the private sector and the superintendents, the principals, the teachers, the school board members, the legislators, everybody that's here today. This is fantastic. One of the great things about North Dakota is we can have a convening like this. People can come from all across our large state with small population, with talented, great people that care about our students and about our future. And we can get just about everybody in the room we need to try to drive solutions forward. And I know that I hate to use Rob's analogy, but today we've got a lot of innovators in this room. I won't call them shirtless dancing people, but they are. We do have a lot of innovators in the room, and there's an opportunity here for us to celebrate those innovators. And I want to say grateful for the role that you play, because this whole room is the leaders and the fast followers. This is the room that's going to get the movement started. This is the room that's investing in the future of our state. And we're just super grateful that you took the time to be here. And we know that some of you are staying for tomorrow. We know from feedback from all of our work with educators and educational institutions, behavioral health, number one. We're dedicating an entire day to it. We have an amazing program tomorrow. If you're only planning on staying for today, if you have any chance of adding tomorrow, it's going to be amazing. Amazing speakers, amazing learners, amazing everything tomorrow. And so I encourage you to stick around for the second day, or call your friends and say, hurry up and get here, because tomorrow is going to be amazing. But thank you. Grateful to have all of you here. From a Team ND standpoint, this is a concept that we have introduced that we really believe in. It's not just some buzz phrase, but if you work in education in North Dakota in K through 12, your paycheck may come from your local school district, but it's really coming from funding that's coming from the state of North Dakota. The state of North Dakota doesn't have we don't have a printing press. There's no Federal Reserve. The money that the state has comes from one source. It comes from revenue that comes in from taxpayers. Taxpayers are people that are, businesses, corporations, farmers, and individuals that pay taxes. About half of the revenue that comes into the state of North Dakota now comes from oil and gas extraction taxes. And so everything we do, healthcare, long-term care, education, roads, infrastructure, whatever we do, that money's coming from the private sector. It gets redirected by the state of North Dakota, but it's coming from our economy. The source of the revenue is our economy. We're fortunate right now that we've got a healthy economy. So when that money comes out, so if you're working for one of our state universities, if you're working for K through 12, if you're working for a state agency, we're all part of Team MD. All of us are dependent on a successful ecosystem, and that economy only works if we've got the capital and the talent to help drive it forward. And the talent comes from having an educated workforce. And right now, the number one gating factor on growth in North Dakota is workforce. We have 30,000 jobs open in our state, and we still have out-migration of young people from our state at both the high school and the college level that go elsewhere, and that will continue to have that competition because there are jobs everywhere in the nation, and there will continue to be jobs everywhere in the nation because this is the first time in history of our country since its founding that there are more jobs available in America than there are people seeking jobs. So for a well-educated person, they have more opportunities than ever before. But it's important for us as Team ND, regardless of where we work in the state and what role we have, that we've got some common things that we all are working on. And three of those things are that we talk about them in 6 words, but we really talk about the mission of Team ND is to empower people, improve lives, and inspire success. So whether you're in the classroom, you're providing leadership at the building level, whether you're a school board member, whether you're a legislator, this is what we get a chance to get up and do every day. And I'm sure a lot of you went into education because you said, I want to make a difference in people's lives. And trust me, you have an opportunity to do that. The work that you do is filled with purpose, filled with purpose. And the work that you do and what you're going to learn here today and tomorrow is going to help allow you to empower people and improve lives and inspire success. And this is what Levi Bachmeyer, this is why he joined our team. This is why everybody in our office, when we get up and go to work every day, we're not in politics, we're in the empowering people, improving lives and inspiring success business. That's what we do because that's what we get to do in a state like North Dakota. And when we do that, we have some values because we think these are the values that you need to be successful in a time of dramatic change. And the first is courage. You got to either have the courage to be one of the shirtless dancing people, or you have to have the courage to be the fast follower, to be a first follower to do that. You have to have the curiosity to actually say, hey, is that the dancing shirtless people, is what they're doing actually different and better than what we're doing? What's the data? Can we be curious about getting the data in the room, get the ideology out of the room, make sure that we continue to ask great questions? And then, of course, gratitude is something that is elevates all of us up. And it elevates us up because it's an opportunity for us to appreciate and understand that where we are on this planet, this little planet flying through space, that on that little planet there's one country, the United States of America, that has elevated and created more economic opportunity, more wealth, more progress, more innovation than any other place in the history of the planet of the Earth. That what we have here, for all the criticisms, is working better than any other system that's ever been invented. And then within that little space called the United States, on top of that, there's a place called North Dakota, and North Dakota has incredible natural resources in terms of the soil, the water, our air, the mineral resources that are there, the infrastructure assets we have, the form of government we have, the freedoms that we have. I had an opportunity to work later in my career where I had people working for me in 120 countries. I had people working for me that did not have the right to vote, the right to assemble, the right to free speech. They had a job working for a global multinational company. They did not have the same rights that we take for granted, the right to assembly. It was an amazing opportunity that we have here. And North Dakota is in a position literally to be the spot that leads the rest of the United States, where we have an opportunity to be #1 in education in the United States, because we've got a combination of the ideas plus the resources plus the people to do it. And the only thing that would stop us from being #1 is if we all sit and watch some shirtless person continue to dance and just go, wow, that's really nutty that person's doing that. But hey, guess what? That's a real threat in North Dakota. Because I grew up in North Dakota. I grew up in a small town in North Dakota. I know how people sit and watch and can criticize and can judge and do that. I understand how that works. We have to have the courage to be able to get out and start doing some things differently. And we also have to have the humility to understand that where we fit in the world, no matter how good we are, that we're still a small part of this larger thing, and that we have to understand the context. We have to understand that the thing that we may think is the biggest issue in the world is really not that big of an issue. Could be a very small thing. And again, I think about sometimes, we can have a debate about whether the speed limit of the interstate is 75 miles an hour or 80 miles an hour, and it's a big emotional debate for some people. Let's just step back and ask ourselves, how fast are we moving right now? How fast are we moving right now when we're sitting here? Are we moving? People might say, no, we're not moving. Or you might say, no, it actually, because I know we say the sun's coming up, but we're just spinning around. We're going to see it again tomorrow. If you're at the equator, you're going 1,000 miles an hour, you're spinning and you don't get dizzy. That's nice. If you're at about 44 degrees latitude north like we are, then you're only going about 700 miles an hour, which is great if you don't like merry-go-rounds in schoolyards and you threw up when you're a kid. That's better for, to be going a little slower. But then, of course, we're not only spinning, we're also, every once a year, we take a trip around the sun. And when we take a trip around the sun, I know we've got math and science teachers here, so everybody knows we're 93 million miles away from the sun. Everybody knows that the circumference is 2 times pi times the radius, and so you've probably already calculated in your head that the 2 times pi times 93 million miles gives you the circumference, and then if it takes us 1 year, you've divided that by 365 1/4, and so then you know that we're traveling at about 67,000 miles an hour as we're sitting here right now, just to take our lap around the world. And you go, wow, 67,000 miles an hour, that's amazing. That's amazing we're going that fast. But then somebody else comes along and says, but don't forget, we're part of the Milky Way, and the Milky Way is expanding. And so our entire solar system is actually moving 6 times faster away from the center of the solar system. Estimated, about 450,000 miles per hour is how fast the solar system is moving away. So we're spinning, we're rotating, we're expanding, we're doing all those things at incalculable speeds going through there. If that doesn't give you a little bit of humility, I don't know what would. But let's just say, all that's taken care of itself. The things that we can control right here is we can make education better in North Dakota. We can have the humility to understand that we're part of a larger system. We can have the gratitude to understand that we got unbelievable resources, and the lack of resources is not the problem in North Dakota. It is not the problem. We have the resources to do the innovation, to do that, and there's more resources that can be coming. So anyway, these are the values that I think are absolutely key to anybody working in an organization in the context of transformational change. And these are the values that we're trying to drive across everybody that works for Team ND, because these are the tools that help us be successful. In addition to values, we have cultural aspirations, and I want you to think about these over the speakers over the next 2 days. One is citizen-focused. Citizen-focused in this case means, are we thinking about the students? Are we thinking about the taxpayers? That's the people that we work for. That's who we serve. That's why we went into this business. And let's make sure we think that. Growth mindset, that's about ourselves. Do we have the right ability to accept and grow from change? Leadership everywhere, we're going to talk about that, because leaders aren't just superintendents. I know they weren't asked to stand this morning. I know we got some that are here. But it's not just superintendents, it's not just principals. Leadership takes place on the front line, starting in the classroom. And it's not just in the classroom from the teacher, it starts in the front line, because there are students that will show us the way. There are students that have got an idea about what education can be and where it can go. And we're going to have some of them on stage today. Working as one, This is a great example. This is the first ever at this conference. We have the combination of human services, which in our small state has the biennium to $4 billion budget, K-12, a $2 billion budget, two of the three largest budgets in the state of North Dakota. The third, of course, would be another $2 billion we spend on higher ed, but $2 billion plus $4 billion. We got $6 billion of resources for one of the lowest population states over the next 2 years, and we're working together. Human services and K-12, working together. Work as one. We're going to solve behavioral health. We're not throwing things over the fence. We're working together. We're working as one. We're Team ND. If we're going to solve this problem, we're going to solve it working together. And we'll make a difference. We talked about that. Your work filled with purpose every day. Every day we have an opportunity to get up and make a difference in the lives of the over 110,000 students that are in North Dakota. What an opportunity. Does North Dakota stand behind our educators? There's dozens and dozens of slides. I could talk about money, but I just ran across this one yesterday. A summer intern found it. Percent change in total state funding per student, inflation adjusted 2008 to 2014. And guess what? From 2014, North Dakota has continued to raise ahead. Small to see that blue line that goes out to 94% in the bottom. That's North Dakota. No one is even close. None of the 50 states are even close to the increases that we have taken, the resource that we have from the energy boom that have come back into K through 12 per student payment this year, thanks to our legislators, thanks to our private sector that's driving the economy, over $10,000 per student, and then growing from there. So anyway, we have an opportunity with the resources we have to really make things happen. So we're here today to celebrate the innovators. When we've held this conference in the past, sometimes we've loaded it up with outside speakers. Today we've got a set of people that are in North Dakota doing great things at the classroom level, at the building level, at the school district level, at the state level. We are showcasing innovators in our state, and you're going to get to be excited about them. And then we all have an opportunity to support them, encourage them, and be first and fast followers behind those innovators. And to be a fast follower, we talked about growth mindset as one of the 5 cultural aspirations. You guys all know this. I hope you're teaching it. I hope that you have read Carol Dweck, the PhD from Stanford's book. If you haven't, I would highly recommend the Growth Mindset book. It's important for every one of us. Left-hand side, I can grow. Challenges are good for me. Feedback is constructive. Effort is necessary. These are the things we want to teach our children. Guess what? When we're adults working in our careers, we need all of this because we have got to learn new things. Whether it's new technology, new approaches, new curriculum, new ways to administer, new ways to collaborate, new ways to manage behavioral health. That's what we have to hear. And guess what? I'm talking to the choir because you took time away from your life, your family, your jobs, and everything you did, and came here today to invest in your own growth. You invested here. So anyway, I applaud you for being here. You know who are some of the people that aren't here? Because there's way few people in this room than there are not in this room, given the tens of thousands of people that work in education. There's a lot of people who are not in this room that are very comfortable sticking with what they know. This is the way I've always taught. I'm going to teach it again. Technology's overrated. Oh, don't give me feedback. I'll get defensive. Oh, by the way, if you're a new administrator, don't worry. I can outlast you. If you're a new governor, don't worry, I can outlast you. You're only going to be here for a little while because, man, governors come and go. I'm here forever. So it's like, keep that feedback to yourself, please. If I'm frustrated, there you go. That proves that this thing isn't going to work. And by the way, I'm, on the top one, either I can or I can't. If, the number of people that tell me I'm not good at math just drives me absolutely crazy. In a time when we actually need to have everybody understand some basic math. It'd be great if everybody could do a numerator and denominator and figure it out. But literally, would you ever walk up to somebody at a party and say, I'm really bad at reading. I'm really bad at reading. And then everybody laughs. Hey, me too. I'm bad at reading. Oh yeah, man, that reading, that's hard. I was never good at reading. Would anybody ever do that? No, because there's a huge stigma around that. But in our country, you can be at a cocktail party and people just say, I had somebody say yesterday, oh, it was a lawyer. It was a lawyer. Oh, I'm bad at math. Oh, you got math stuff. No, keep that away from me. People, really? We're like half proud of it. It's a cultural thing. How about North Dakota? rid of that. And we actually have people that embrace an understanding of basic math, because math helps us understand how to design efficient school systems and understand the data on what really works in teaching, how to build communities that are cost effective so your property taxes can go down instead of going up. Because guess what? Property taxes going up is not necessarily about good politicians or bad politicians. It's about design. It's about design. If you have a 20,000 square foot house, it costs more to maintain and run than a 1,200 square foot house. It's just simple. I mean, if we have we have footprints of cities that are larger than Boston and San Francisco, and then we wonder why we have, literally in square miles, we have a city that's larger than Boston or San Francisco in number of square miles, and then we wonder why the property taxes are up, and then you call your legislature, whatever. No, it's how we design stuff, how we deliver education. You know, and then and the utilization, number of people versus, I mean, it's just, we have, let's get over the either I can't do it or can't. I can develop my abilities. If you weren't good at math, you can become better at math. You can understand it. Anyway, so that's just, now you're all getting to know me. I just went down an alley. You saw a little passion of mine. I dove into it deep. There's no hook that could get me out of it. I can't stop myself. But it's hopefully you find it endearing as opposed to something else. Again, and some things have changed a lot. You got technology, you got buildings, whatever, but in some cases, you know, from where we were, 150 years ago to where we are now, and my youngest just got out of high school 2 years ago, some of the experiences that he had would have been very familiar to a teacher in the 1890s, sitting in a classroom, teacher in the front, lecture, could have been very familiar. Someone could have, been cryogenically frozen for 120 years and come forward and been teaching, some of the same ways. We are at a point where now that rate of change is going to go even faster and faster. So that's interesting that we have to be ready to go in that context. And then, of course, the one thing we did give a shout out earlier, but the First Lady is going to be here, coming tonight, going to be here tomorrow. That's her on the right in her Jamestown Blue Jay cheerleading outfit. So we'll be showing this picture again tomorrow when she's here. But digital transformation, there's a lot of things that are happening that are going to rapidly transform every form of education. It's going to hit higher education faster and harder than it's going to hit K-12, because it's going to not only change how the delivery and the transfer of knowledge and the creation of knowledge occurs at all levels, but it's going to blow up the business model of higher education. And it blows up the business model of higher education a dozen different ways, and it blows it up in the same way that Amazon, blew up Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble, I'm sure you all know, people know that's a brand, it's a place you go buy books. 10 years ago, there was a great debate. Who's going to win? Amazon selling books online, Amazon selling digital books with Kindle, or is it going to be Barnes & Noble? Who's going to win? The battle between the two, future and the past. Everybody lines up behind Barnes & Noble. No one's going to give up reading books. Books matter, blah, blah, blah. The whole thing. I can show you dozens of articles. I won't take you through that keynote. That was just over 10 years ago. About a month ago, Barnes & Noble was bought for $683 million. $683 million may seem like a lot of money. The real estate the buildings that Barnes & Noble own are worth more than $683 million. Amazon's market capitalization, number of shares times price per share, trading just around $1 trillion. $1 trillion. This debate from 10 years ago about who's going to win, this would be like sitting down to watch a 10-year soccer game, and at the end of the game, the score would be 1,200-0. Because the market cap is a reflection of how people value companies, and Amazon is valued about 1,200 times higher than Barnes & Noble. And this is why that everything is being disrupted. But higher education is going to get blown apart, because things that we used to charge for are going to be available for free. Things that you used to be able to get by with low quality will be available for high quality for free. The workforce, the fact that we've got so many jobs available in America, is going to change the entire dynamic of whether people have to go to college to get a great job, because there are companies where you could go to work for immediately and they will help pay for your college. $1.6 trillion of student debt, largely because of failed federal policy. $1.6 trillion of student debt, which is affecting the future generation, a burden on all of our future generations. So, whether it's economic, technological, culturally, or socially, all those forces are just blowing up higher education. K-12 is insulated a little bit because culturally people still believe in K-12 education. It's local, it's public schools. I mean, in our state, so you're insulated from some change for a longer period of time. But if you think things aren't going to happen in K-12, just keep your eye on higher education, because it is happening right now. If you're in the state of Arizona, you can, while you're in high school or when you're out of school working, you can take every freshman course you want from Arizona State University. Arizona State University, 20 years ago, #1 rated party school. Now it's the #1 most innovative school in the country. You can take every freshman class for free online. If you don't like your grade, don't like your math class in your freshman year, you retake it again for free. Now I got a transcript built for free. I've been working, I've been living with my parents, I've been doing what I want to do, or I've been going to high school. And I've been just going to high school, and in the evenings I'm taking my freshman classes. You get all that stuff done, and then you say, okay, I want to go from being a learner for free to being a student. You pay a small fee, boom, instant transcript with a fabulous first-year freshman thing. You know what we're doing in North Dakota? We're sending kids to college, and then when they get to college, they got to take a remedial class, and they got to pay for it, but it doesn't count because it's still a high school class. Then we say if you want to take an online class, we're going to charge you more for the online class versus the in-person class, which is, the economics are completely upside down on that. Flip doesn't make any sense, won't sustain itself. So we do that, you know, and then we end up with this, the classic thing, like when I was there, you go to your freshman year, you don't know what you're going to do, you party, you get some bad grades, you drop out. We have a lot of people that don't make it through freshman and sophomore year, then they go get a job, they got a bunch of debt on the thing. That's what we're doing. That's the old model. Arizona State's got a model where none of that, no debt, great freshman grades, decide what you want to do. Bingo. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. I mean, it's completely flipped and upside down. Digital transformation coming everywhere. But I want to say we had a fantastic group of people that worked on innovation in education. We appointed that group. They did amazing work, and anyway, we've driven through that. Lots of new things that have come out of that. You know, the new DPI computer and cyber standards, First Nation to emphasize cybersecurity as a main component of the curriculum. There's a lot of things that we're doing that are help moving it forward. And I won't need to go through all this, but if you think I'm kidding about the digital transformation, understand that storage is basically free. Okay, and when I say okay, understand that when I started the industry, it cost $1,000 a megabyte to store stuff. A 5 megabyte hard drive was $5,000. A gigabyte was $1 million. Now when you send home the school list for your students for their stuff in the fall, and it's, I mean, to bring the school stuff, I'm sure it says, like it did for my daughter, pens, pencils, paper, erasers, and a 8 gigabyte jump drive. I mean, my daughter showed me that, and I'm like, you need $8 million of storage, you know, for your classroom. I mean, it's like this is it is incredibly cheap. It's basically free. If any of you ever stored a video online, I'm sure you have, because guess what? All the world's videos are available to be stored online for free at YouTube. All the world's videos take up an enormous amount of things. That's free storage. That was a business model 10 years ago. You used to pay people to store stuff. You could charge people for storage. It's free. Gigabit internet, North Dakota leading, one of the highest broadband states, and we've got so much more to do. Ubiquitous automatic sensors. If you've got a smartphone in your pocket, it's tracking dozens and dozens of things right now. We have there was a time 10 years ago when we had a thing, remember the cows, computers on wheels? And people were, you know, budgets. I had people coming to me as a philanthropist saying, can you donate money? We need money. We're trying to raise 100 grand so we can get a few computers in the school that we can run up and down the hallway and have the kids share them and do whatever. And anyway, those things that were on the cow cart running around, those things are like ancient already, because you got Moore's Law, doubling computer power every 18 months. So in just 8 years, you know, or in 6 years, you have 4 times you have 2 times 4 times 8 times 16. In 6 years, you've got 16 times the power at a 1/16th the price. I mean, this is what's happening. It'll continue to happen. I mean, kids that are in elementary school today will not recognize the computing power that we have when they're seniors. Moore's Law is right now still unstoppable, been going for 40 years, doubling and halving, doubling and halving. And so those ubiquitous automatic sensors, you got every kid walking into the school practically with a supercomputer in their pocket. That thing in their pocket's more powerful than what we used when we sent the Apollo mission to the moon by a huge margin. And then when the pervasive mobility, the digital imagery, all of these things are going to create all kinds of educational tools that we can't even imagine or even speculate on today. But guess what? They'll be here in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, driven by the magic of software. And then you throw on top of that machine learning, artificial intelligence, and better search. And if you said, hey, how am I going to find and sort through all this amazing curriculum and material? Because you'll type in the one specific thing you need and you'll get 10 great answers. Because search is getting better, and people are spending over $70 billion of R&D is being spent every year by private companies in this sector in the US alone. So if you think that technology isn't working, you're thinking about yesterday's or last year's or 2 years ago or 4 years ago. If you've got a mindset that says that stuff doesn't work because I tried it once and it didn't, then you're missing the point of the whole digital transformation. You've got to look forward to what's coming as opposed to your personal experience and went back. Because every single one of us, including mine, our personal experience as of this minute is outdated. If you think that some kid's not going to take an online class because it's less interesting to stare at a screen and listen to a professor talking in the thing, online classes in the future is not a video of a teacher giving a lecture. That's not an online class. That's a video of a teacher giving a lecture. An online class in architecture, which I'm sure will be available for free to high school students, won't be, here's how you draft. It might be 3D imagery of a student puts it on their own iPhone, puts on the mask, and then they walk through St. Peter's in Rome. They walk around the pyramids. They get to experience and see and walk through every piece of amazing architecture in the world. And they could be doing that in your classroom right now, probably for free. And if they aren't, that app is being developed somewhere right now. I'm sure it is. Absolutely sure it is. And you wouldn't have to say, where's the budget for the computing power? Well, they actually have it because it's a free app and they've got a smartphone. So it's powerful global trends which we're not immune to, or they're not, can't stop it. The K-12 Innovation Group, we formed this executive order in 2017. Some governors, I've asked governors about executive task force. I said, tell me about the executive task force process. They go, well, you decide the answer you want, you pick a few of your friends, you call it a task force, you have a few meetings, and then you declare the answer. That's not what we're doing in this administration. What we're doing in this administration is we get people that care about the issue, they care about the problem, they come together, and we all genuinely bring our curiosity and our humility. We say, the humility to say we don't know what the right answer is, the curiosity to say we're going to find out. Then we hold meetings all over the state. We held these meetings, virtually every one of them, in an educational institution. We had all of them, we had students come and talk to us. And then we came up with recommendations, and one of them was the K-12 Education Coordinating Council, which is going to be a terrific new tool. And anyway, we got a group of people. I think a number of them are here. Can we have everybody who served and was appointed to the K-12 Innovative Education Task Force? Can you stand up, please? If you're here, I know you're here. Don't be bashful. Are there anybody here? Come on. So innovative. We warm out. There is one right over there. Okay, way to go. Thank you. And we got our legislature. Thank you for doing that. But anyway, we got a great stuff done. Legislature passed some great stuff. We are accepting applications for coordinating council. Governor.nd.gov/boards. That one's out there. We have a bunch of other board appoint. We have 142 boards and commissions. If you said, hey, I'm not on enough boards, go check it out and apply. But what about this future and the digital transformation? We've got to think about, in the past, a lot of education was learning to know. And I'm telling you, if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, I got to learn a bunch of stuff because there's certain things I need to know before I do this. I have to learn to do it. So that's when we teach, and then we get people memorized. We give them a test to make sure they memorized it. What do you know? What do you know? What do you know? In a world where you can look up any answer to any question on any device at any time, what you know will become devalued. There's artificial intelligence machines right now today that can outperform people that have gone through 1 year of law school. At the rate of Moore's Law, it's only a matter of time where you're going to be able to ask a legal question of a machine, and the machine will give you as good or better answer, because part of the legal answer is, boy, I need to take a look at all the case law that's occurred in the past. And if you hire a lawyer, then you hope that they know how to look up the case law. They used to go to a law library. They'd look it up. You'd hope they would know how to find the relevant cases, but maybe they missed the ones that are most relevant. you're basically talking about big data, giant search capability, and then what they might have known on where to look. And so some of these professions that we've highly valued that take years of education because you got to pile up more knowledge, those are the ones that are going to get completely turned on their heads because the value of what you know is going to become less value. Learning what you can do is going to matter, and learning to be, is really about tomorrow, about how people can, how people being healthy, knowing what they want, being able to work, in teams, and all the issues associated with the health aspects of be. That's about tomorrow. But learning to do, it brings you to a set of questions about teaching. This was somebody's list of the 27 critical skills that it takes to be able to succeed, to be able to succeed in an environment of rapid change in digital transformation. These are the skills that would help you be successful. These are the ones that would help you navigate that future. And so then you question yourself, how much of the time do we spend out of the $2 billion teaching students in North Dakota to learn a certain set of things and then testing whether they know that, and how much of this are we actually teaching that's going to help them on the doing side, which is going to allow them to succeed in this incredibly changing world. And it's also been said that learning is a full contact sport, and here we have a bee covered with pollen, and bees are fascinating. I'm sure many of you have studied bees, but bees are smart. In North Dakota, #1 producer of honey in the United States. I mean, the highest honey producing. And if you're driving by this summer and you see a bee yard out there, and all of a sudden, bup, and your windshield gets hit, and it's like a clear instead of a yellow or a green thing that's on your windshield, you can actually stop your car, get out, lick your finger, and take that clear stuff and lick it off the windshield. If you've got young kids or grandkids, it's super entertaining. The whole yuck factor is incredible. But what is on your windshield is the nectar. The bee's body is so dense, when it hits a windshield at 60 miles an hour, the bee bounces off, but the nectar squirts out. And so it's not actually like, yucky bug juice. It's actually nectar, clear stuff. Try it on the way home tonight. But if you look over and you see a bee yard, on the way home tonight, and it's, they start out in the spring and they're 2 boxes high, and by September, maybe they're 4. If you drive around North Dakota this summer, those bee boxes are already in, early August, 5, 6 boxes high, and they're bringing in more hives. I mean, there's so much. We're having a record bumper honey crop. But these bees, when they do that, they come out of the hive, and then they figure out which way the wind is blowing every day. These guys can know where the wind is blowing, because they know when they're loaded with a load, they want to be flying with the wind. So where do they go look for pollen first? They fly into the wind. And then they have scouts that go out and figure out, where the pollen is for them to go. And then they come back, and then based on the little dance that they do, then everybody knows which direction to go to follow them. And they pass that intelligence on, but it's a full contact sport. They're doing this. And so then we have to, as I know that this group here is the group of innovators, because you're getting students out of the classroom. You're getting students into hands-on, real-world, diverse set of approaches, team-based project learning. You do that. You've got, whether it's, and then again, the things that we've called on the side, when we talk about real-world, team-based, hands-on, project-based learning, all the stuff that the studies say that's where kids really learn, I look back and I'm like, okay, that sounds a lot like 4-H or FFA or maybe scouting, or maybe it's DECA, maybe it's robotics first, maybe it's the arts programs that my daughter was part of, maybe it's Marketplace for Kids that my kids did, maybe it's internships, it's co-ops, it's shadowing. And I know that, again, we have to change the culture and the approaches, but some of these things that we've had on the side are actually like spot on target in terms of what the research says in terms of the way we create learning. And you're going to hear from some people from the stage that are introducing those kinds of things. But we got to get, if we want people to have real world learning, we got to get them into the real world. And the real world means getting them out of the classroom. And in North Dakota, we have so many opportunities with agriculture, with energy, with aviation, whatever, to expose our kids at all ages to the amazing things that are happening in our state, as opposed to, at the Main Street Initiative, we won't hold the Main Street Initiative. We've done 63 cities. We will not hold them unless we have students that are there. We have high school students there, and we asked the kids at the thing, we asked the adults, what is there to do in your town? And the parents and the adults and the city commissioners and the board members go on and on about how great their community is and all there is to do. And then we turn and ask the kids, and we go, what is there to do in this town? And the kids go, there's really not much to do in this town if you're not 21. That's been the answer everywhere, including all the way up to our largest cities. We have to solve the 12 to 20-year-old problem in terms of engagement about all the great things that are going on in our state, because the other alternative is slug your way through high school, play some sports, hang out with your friends. The minute you're done, boom, I'm out of here because why would I stay here? You know, and we are in competition for all the other states for our future generation. They would love to have North Dakota kids come to their states and start careers and start families and go to work. We should love that even more to do that, and we should actually be so great that people are coming here. We should take that slide about how we're investing in education, and why wouldn't every family in the country go, I want to go to North Dakota because they've got the most innovative, leading-edge education, the best communities, the great number of job opportunities, and wow, kids are so beloved there, and they get so much attention from the community, and they have so many opportunities to understand what's going on in the real world when they're there. Let's live in North Dakota, because they've really got it figured out on how to build a future generation. But another thing I know, so it's a full contact sport, but we also need a diversity of approaches. There will not be a one straightforward top-down answer. There will not be a centralized approach. The answer is going to come. There's going to be dozens of different ways to make this work, and we have to make it work for the different size communities we have, and whether rural or urban or large or small, there's going to be lots of different approaches, and you're going to hear different approaches today. And then, and of course, we can't have education if the students are in a spot where, for behavioral health reasons or nutrition reasons, if we've got kids coming into school who haven't had enough sleep, haven't had the right nutrition, have got a situation at home where one or two parents are, suffering from the disease of addiction, and these things are affecting themselves, how in the world can you have an opportunity to learn? So we have to address the larger societal issues that we're facing, because the disease of addiction is touching every family, every community, every organization, every single one it is. And again, I know we've done a fantastic job of trying to make sure we're keeping our schools safe. We got more work to do to keep our schools safe. We've introduced resource officers in our buildings. But if that can't be the answer, if someone has a health issue and we don't know how to handle the health issue for whatever reason, and then we introduce them to a resource officer, and then that's their introduction to the criminal justice system, and then we're introducing them at younger and younger ages to the criminal justice system. If you folks don't think there's enough money around, guess what we spend? We spend $10,000 a year on a student that's in K-12, just over that in the per pupil student funding for the state of North Dakota. We spend $41,000 a year for everybody who's incarcerated, 4 times as much. Does that make any sense to you? If we're incarcerating someone for a health issue, and I say health issue because we have got the disease of addiction is a disease. It's not a moral choice or moral failing. In North Dakota, the survey's been done. 2 out of 3 people now believe it's a disease. 1 out of 3. That means, look around. That means one person either right or left of you thinks that the disease of addiction is a moral choice. And if that person thinks it's a moral choice, that person probably also believes that we can stop people from taking drugs or drinking by greater punishment. If we punish them more, longer sentences, minimum mandatories, lock them up, we do all that, we'll get this person to quit. Okay, let's just tell you what the data shows. We're talking about data, not ideology. The data would show that would be just as effective as taking somebody who's got diabetes or cancer and saying, look, we gave you 28 days of insulin, you had your chance, you failed, you're still a diabetic, we're locking you up. And by the way, when we lock you up, we're not giving you any insulin. I mean, it's a health issue. It's a health issue, and it's a powerful chronic brain disease. If not treated, ultimately becomes fatal, if not for that person, for people that are around them, because we still, whether it's automobile deaths or violence or whatever it has to be, this is the disease that affects other people in addition. It affects the whole family, not just the person who has the disease. And so we have to take a completely different approach in how we think about this. That's why we're dedicating a whole day tomorrow. But it's not just addiction, it's nutrition, it's home supports, community supports, it's everything. It's the holistic approach. In terms of how do we get there, one of the 5 cultural aspirations is leadership everywhere. We've got great teamwork and support in North Dakota with our sponsors here today, North Dakota School Board Association, ND United, NDCEL. We've got all the people that we need in the room. This rarely happens in other states. We're all here, we all know each other, we're all working together. You throw in this, plus DPI, plus local communities, plus the private sector, we can make this thing happen. And so again, I want to close today by, again, where I started, which is gratitude. to all of you for investing your time to be here. Gratitude for you deciding to get into the business of education, because it is so filled with purpose and it does make such a difference for people. And I want to say, grateful for the roles that you play individually in touching the lives of so many young people in North Dakota. But I'm also grateful that you're here with an open mindset. I'm grateful that you're here to learn. I'm grateful that you're here to be fast followers or innovators or shirtless dancing people, because we embrace all of you and say thank you for being here and being part of the leadership. We're looking forward to a fantastic day. And again, let's get on with it. Thank you very much.